problem with it.
Yes, just
Yeah, I
FYI.
got it.
Yeah.
I'll put in the building maintenance.
Okay.
What we call it?
The DIAS,
The dias.
DIAS, council
Okay.
DIAS. DIAS.
Okay, throw it in the term.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, Bird, your video's on. Hey, Bird,
Yes,
your video's on.
I don't want to be seen.
We're live. Let's go. Lisa, we reserved that whole center section for you today. I hope you like it.
I need to get my participants going here. Let's go. Take us live. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Tuesday, April the 20th council agenda session. I now call this meeting to order. Could I get a motion on the minutes, please?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes with a proper second. If there are no objections, the minutes will stand as recorded. This evening, during our council meeting, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation by Councilman Vice Chair Smith. Under special presentations, we'll be welcoming our new mayor, Mayor Tim Kelly. And it's my understanding that he will be present and coming to the podium to have a few words. We'll also recognize an administrator that will be joining us for the last time on our Zoom meetings. And then we also tonight have the election of our city council officers, our chair and vice chair at the 6 o'clock meeting. All right, any questions or comments about the beginning of our 6 o'clock meeting? Okay. All right, moving into our agenda for this afternoon under ordinances under final reading. We have several planning items that are on their second read. Does the council have any questions or comments about any second read item on our agenda this afternoon? Everybody good? Sir. All right. Moving to resolutions under economic community development. Madam Clerk, would you read 8A, please?
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development to award up to $40,000 per house for a total amount up to $120,000 in home program funding to Habitat for Humanity to assist with the new construction of 3 affordable homeowner units located at the following addresses: 239 Canary Circle, 305 West 37th Street, and 3410 Kirkland Avenue.
All right, council, any questions or comments concerning 8A? Yeah. All right, seeing no hands. 8B, please.
A resolution to increase purchase order number 551611 Unum by $120,000 to cover employee group life insurance and supplemental life premiums through fiscal year 2021 for a total purchase order not to exceed $698,000.
Questions or comments? All right. 8C, please.
A resolution authorizing the police chief to accept $89,107 from the Department of Justice Office of Justice Program for 2020 JAG grant.
I'm still seeing no hands. Council, if you would pull out your purchase items for this afternoon and take a look at those. Let me know if you have any questions concerning any of the purchase items in your packet this afternoon. Has everyone found their purchase items in their packet? Okay. All right. If anyone has any questions, we can go back. Council, if you would now look to the April the 27th agenda, would you please take a look at what we call the 2-week agenda? And let me know if there's any items there that you would like to discuss or need further information on. April 27th agenda.
I'm not seeing an April 27th agenda in my packet.
Okay, in your packet, you have your April the 20th agenda. Just continue to flip your April the 20th agenda till you come to the 27th.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm seeing no hands at this time. Council, also in your packet, you'll find future considerations. That is items that are 3 weeks and beyond that we have an opportunity to look at. If you have any questions or concerns about any of these items before they migrate onto our 2-week agenda, please let me know at this time. And it is my understanding that all of the items on our future considerations will migrate onto our 2-week agenda. So you will see these next week on your 2-week agenda. Any concerns on any of these? Okay. All right, council, what we have done during the month of April, since we're not having strategic planning, I have created a place for council to put forward proposed legislation. And so we are now at that point on the agenda. If any council person has some proposed legislation that they would like to put forward, would you please raise your hand at this time? Okay, I think that they have my computer backwards. Councilwoman Coonrod.
Thank you, Chair. Over a year now, we've been talking about the possibility of adding Juneteenth as a paid holiday. Previously we've done like the proclamation to recognize it as a day of celebration. I submitted a resolution. You guys looked at it, and the resolution was just an ask. And we keep talking as a council that, it's time to try to really implement some things and be about the walk that we've been talking, and that's about diversity and inclusion. And we really need to take outside of just this legislation. As a council, I would like for us to really take a hard look at the holidays that we have in place, because they're not inclusive of everyone. Maybe we can look at, name changes for them to be all inclusive holidays. So this particular legislation is on.
Okay, I'm sorry, Councilwoman, what was your last statement? Or you,
Well, I was waiting on you guys to finish.
Okay. Go ahead.
You guys done. I wanted to respect you guys' time and didn't know if it was something important. But this legislation is for Juneteenth as a paid holiday, as an ordinance. It still has the same language other than being a resolution. It is now a ordinance. So you all should have it in your packets. And I would, I really would like to move forward with it by placing it on the agenda, because we're either at this point, we're gonna approve it or not, so we can move on. And in that way, I don't have to find myself every other month bringing it up.
Councilwoman, let me throw out some ideas for you. So one, of course, our normal process for getting legislation on the agenda from a council person would take it through committee, which we could take through legislative committee. The other thing is I did have a conversation with the new administration about looking at the holidays to see if we could maybe even reconfigure or create options for people who might not care to celebrate one holiday, but would like to celebrate another. I think it could be a marriage of the two. And I would like to let the new administration sort of get their feet under them and then look together at how we could create maybe even a new à la carte, if you will, of holidays for our employees. Is that something that you would be interested in working with administration to present to the council so that we could actually maybe give our employees options for holidays?
I like the idea. However, I still would like this legislation to move forward as we work, because then we still can retool the naming of whatever it is for the 12 holidays. We often get into this conversation and it's been pushed around and back. Let's wait on this person. Let's wait till this comes about. Let's wait on this. It's time for us to move forward with it. And I mean, I respect the new administration and their ideas and their progressiveness. But for the sake of this legislation, I'm ready to move forward with it.
Okay. I think that's Councilwoman Burrs.
So I think you're right, Councilwoman. I think it's a very, very important holiday. Am I correct in understanding that you were talking about not for this year, but for next year? Absolutely. Okay. So I was wondering, I don't know that anybody's against the holiday. You and I spoke some, and I think it's a very good idea to include it among there may be other holidays. If we're looking for next year, let's get it right, because it's that important. Could you go along with that? Well, we talked about council people having the option not to be forced into holidays, but to choose the holidays they want. I don't think it diminishes this one at all. I think it's an important holiday. However, I'd like the administration to present a package to us that includes this. But since the time isn't of the essence till next year, I want to make sure administration understands that we want this as part of whatever the package is. Does that work for you?
I make it pass, it's still included in that conversation, or if it's not passed, it's still part of the conversation. But I don't want this to be, that thing that we're gonna forget about again, or think it's forgotten about. I think it's important that the legislation we passed last week, or, that's coming up again today to vote. Really tired of talking about it.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. And then
I just wanted to say that she spent a lot of time on this, and with an ordinance, it gives it a different tack than a resolution. A resolution is telling administration, hey, we're resolved. We want you to do this, because administration is the one that sets the holidays. We don't. So I would like to give the holiday the fairest shake we can, even in the form of a resolution, which kind of directs them a little different than an ordinance. But I'll go with what the group wants.
okay. Councilman Byrd.
Thank you, Chair. So at this time, being that Councilwoman Coonrod very adamant about moving forward with this, the process now would be to put it in committee, or would the process be now to go ahead and add it to the agenda?
Well, the process would be bring it through committee
Okay,
like we would any other legislation, particularly with the ordinance.
okay,
So what we could do is we could place it in a legislative committee,
okay,
which is a function of the vice chair. Obviously, we have our elections for leadership today.
okay,
So let's get our leadership in place as it's a function of the vice chair, and then go forward from there.
okay.
We good with that?
So I guess that's my thing, by her being wanting to move forward with this, expeditiously as possible. Is it possible to, at 6, I know we're gonna probably be changing seats or however that's gonna be. Is it possible to go ahead and establish that we can set this in legislative committee next week or the week after?
Well, I would think next week we certainly could do it.
Okay.
Set it next week. Yes,
right.
absolutely.
Thank you, Chair.
Councilman, Vice Chair Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for point of clarification, and Phil, I don't know if this is for you or Councilwoman Coonrod. To her point, we've been talking about this for a really long time. We've seen a resolution and now we're seeing an ordinance. Is there a difference between this being a resolution or being an ordinance as to how it must be or may be adhered to by the city?
Yes, sir, because y'all do have the power under section 2-3 of the city code to establish the holidays. And that is because y'all have the ability to set the budget for the payment of those holidays. And that provision is set out in the code here currently with 11 holidays in the city code. And this was just the one addition that would be included. The other language I haven't heard discussed here by y'all to this point is Councilwoman Coonrod did specifically request that this be not in effect during this year on Juneteenth. It would go into effect on July 1st, 2021, so that y'all would have an opportunity to deal with that in the budget ordinance for the coming year. But that's within your power.
Okay, so this needs to be, and that's what I want to clarify so that everybody understands, this needs to be an ordinance in order for that change
Yes,
to take effect. Okay,
yes,
so this is the right direction to go as opposed to the resolution is going to the ordinance.
yes.
I feel like my opinion that we've discussed this currently as chair of the legislative committee, I feel like we've discussed it multiple times. I'm happy to have, if it continues legislatively or as of, I will speak for today, I'm happy to have this in legislative committee immediately. We've discussed it many, many, many times. There's nothing new about this ordinance that anybody, well, other than our new members, I apologize for that, have not seen or heard. So yeah, to respect them, I'm fine waiting an extra week, but I don't see the need beyond that. So if you were asked me today, can we put it in legislative committee? I would say yes, absolutely, immediately. But I may also request that it go ahead and be placed on the agenda at the same time on the 2-week agenda to be voted on. Again, this is an item that has been discussed multiple times and it's rather straightforward to me. But being respectful to the 3 new council members up here, if they have questions, I would like to give them time to answer those or to ask those and have them answered. I feel like we can also do that in a 2-week period. It is an ordinance, which means it is something that we're going to see twice.
Yes.
So that does give us even an extra week beyond that. So just my opinion. It is possible for 2 council members to put it on the agenda. I would like to see it go through our processes like everything else. So I'm happy to see this in legislative committee. And Mr. Chair, it's really up to you at this point as chair still to place it in committee, and you can place it in committee next week, regardless of who's over that committee. But I would also request that it go ahead and be placed on the 2-week agenda. If there's an issue in committee, we can always push it out if there's a need to.
So let me say this, rather than going ahead and placing it on the 2-week agenda. So tonight, during committee reports, we could assign it to committee as early as tonight. Leadership position will be in place by then. What if we do that and you and the vice chair at that point in time can determine the date for hearing it in committee with respect to the new council people to make sure that they have time to hear and understand and ask questions if they need be. So let's take it that way. And then once we take it through committee, place it on the agenda like what our normal process would be.
It's up to you, sir. That was just my request.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions or comments on this proposed legislation before we move on? Very well. We have no departmental reports this afternoon. We do have one committee this afternoon, Public Works and Transportation. And as we are in a transition period at this point in time, if there's no objection from the council, I will handle the committees that we have from the chair seat. So at this time, I call to order the Public Works and Transportation Committee. Could I have a motion on the minutes, please? All right. I hear no objections. The minutes will stand as recorded. Madam Clerk, for this afternoon, we have one final reading, 6F, please.
An ordinance closing and abandoning an unopened sewer easement located in 300 block of Tremont Street as detailed on the attached map, subject to certain conditions.
Councilwoman Hill, any questions or concerns?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So in studying this, this request, what? I pushed a button.
Is the red
Red.
light? Okay, go ahead.
You're not hearing me?
I can hear.
Okay. So my question is, the proposed development in requesting this abandonment of an 8-inch sewer pipe to have a 0-foot setback and reduce the height of a retaining wall for the apartment project. I want to understand if in doing this, we are approving a 0-foot setback from the road or from the new sewer or from the new sewer plan, whatever it might be. Or if I want to understand if this setback supersedes a standard setback that would be part of any development plan.
Okay.
And-
Ms. Sullivan? Who could best answer? Do what? Oh, okay. I see it now. Okay, he just put it up. All right, Mr. Vice Chair, would you bring in Bill Payne, please? Madam Clerk?
Good afternoon, Council.
Afternoon, Mr. Payne. Did you hear Councilwoman Hill's question, sir?
I did, and in this particular case, this easement abandonment simply removes the sanitary sewer easement as an item that they have to contend with regard to their setbacks, but it does not supersede any of the other ordinary conditions that would apply under the zoning and the zoning setbacks for their zone. Now, specifically what that zone and the setbacks for that would be a question for the Land Development Office. But this case would simply remove the easement if it's approved by the council and if it is relocated according to the condition, provided the council approves it with the condition that's listed. So but that would be the only effect that this resolution would have, would simply be to eliminate the easement by relocation, but it would not change anything with respect to other setbacks.
Okay, so it sounds like in order to have a 0-foot setback, they need to have this abandonment approved. And please correct me if I'm wrong. I just received the form-based code variance review certificate that actually it looks like was almost a full calendar year prior to this resolution about the sewer abandonment. So we had a sewer abandonment resolution on October 12th, 2020, but a form-based code variance review certificate October 29th, 2019. And looks like that is when there was a reduction of a primary setback from 10 feet to a minimum of 0. And it's interesting that there was mentioned there was no opposition to the second petition, but there is a record of significant opposition to the first petition. Chip, I'm not sure, or Chairman, I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time or if I need to wait till the next meeting, but I would like to make a motion to defer this until I've had all my questions answered and just can really understand this. This is a very important project within District 2.
Sure.
And I just need to fully understand it so I can explain it to my constituents and know for certain that everything is going as it should.
So if you would offer at our 6 o'clock meeting, a
Okay.
motion to defer.
I will do that.
And
Thank
and
you.
you can determine the length of deferral that you would like to see.
Okay.
That would be the appropriate time to
All
offer
right.
that.
Thank you. That'll give me time to study this
Okay.
more.
Thanks. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Payne?
No, thank you. And I've been connected now with form-based code as well. So
Okay.
I'll be following up with
Okay,
them.
all right, great. All right, thank you, Mr. Payne. Madam Clerk, if you would excuse our guest, please. You know what? Have you already pushed the button? Just leave him in here because that's, all this is public work. Mr. Payne, just hang on just in case there's other questions. Madam Clerk, resolutions for next Tuesday, 7D, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to amend the annual end date of May 14, 2021 to match the software year end date of September 30, 2021 for an agreement with Club Profit Systems to provide city golf courses with POS and reservation software.
Any questions or comments on 7D for next Tuesday, April the 27th? All right, I'm seeing no hands at this time. Madam Clerk, 7E, please.
A resolution authorizing payment to Tennessee American Water Company through June 30, 2021 for disconnection fees resulting from the delinquent sewer charges for a total amount not to exceed $75,000.
All right, any questions concerning these disconnection fees? I believe that's Councilman Ledford.
It's Councilman Byrd down
So,
here.
well,
Hey, you did it.
they've got our seating
You
chart.
did it.
Mine
You did
is
it.
completely backwards. So
You did it. Hey, Bill, can you, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill, can you give us a little bit of clarity or a little more description on that line item E, please?
And certainly, this has to do with payment of sanitary sewer charges, which are billed by the city. And under state law, if those are not paid in a timely fashion, the city has the ability to request a disconnection of water to that. And in the past, whenever Tennessee American billed the sewer charges to the customer on the city's behalf, then these were charges. It's an administrative charge of $15, which is charged by the water company for that process of disconnection. In this case, since the city does our own billing separately, we are the ones that request the disconnection due to non-payment. And under our agreement with Tennessee American, they do, and under state law, they do provide that disconnection service, but they bill this administrative disconnection fee to the city as the requester. And this resolution will allow us to make payment for those as they're invoiced on their behalf. So this is just an estimated amount, and we believe that it's potentially a year's worth of disconnects. We certainly hope it's not that high, but just based on disconnections in the past, that's where this number has come from. But it's based on $15 per user. The city then passes that through on the sewer bill, just the same as the water company would do if they were billing these services, but there's no upcharge by the city. It's just a simple straight pass through.
So we're the billing entity responsible.
That's correct.
That answered that. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Councilwoman Hill.
Have you all noticed an uptick in the number of disconnect requests that you've had to make to Tennessee American Water?
We have actually, we had suspended disconnection services during the pandemic and have only recently resumed them. So it's at this point, there's not enough information since we've resumed to be able to say whether there's going to be an increase or not, but it is not anything that we have experienced for the past year. But we certainly will be watching that closely.
So the $75,000 approval that you're looking for now, how does that compare to what you saw it last year? Or what you spent last year on disconnects?
I'll be glad to get that information. I do not know what we have spent in the past for that, but I'll be glad to get that information and provide it. Of course, it's been a year and a half probably since we've paid, almost a year and a half since we've paid any disconnection fees because we had not requested any since we had suspended disconnections during the pandemic. But I'll be glad to get that information for the prior year.
Okay, and so in suspending disconnections, am I correct in hypothesizing that the sewer fees continue to accrue while the bill is delinquent?
Yes, that is correct, because the sewer fees are based on water usage. And so that water usage would continue uh, as long as water is continuing to be used, and there would continue to be charges accrued.
And so now that disconnects are back in the process, what is the procedure for someone who has accumulated a bill? What are their options for getting in the black on that?
And there are payment plans that are offered by the city. Residents and customers are directed to contact 311. The operators of 311 are able to work them through what those payment plan looks, what that looks like. And
What kind of bills have been accrued over this last year and a half?
I do not have that information in front of me, but would be glad to get that information.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for 7E? All right, I'm seeing no other hands. Thank you, Mr. Payne.
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk, you can excuse our guest. Is there anything else that needs to come before the Public Works and Transportation Committee at this time? All right, I'm seeing, Councilwoman Hill.
You said in jest at one point we weren't supposed to ask any questions for our first 3 meetings. So I'm kind of burning it up. Maybe there'll be one. So I just got an email about asphalt rejuvenation, which sounds like something straight out of a med spa. And some of the roads in my district are going to get some asphalt rejuvenation. And I wonder if you could just tell me a little bit about that process. I remember when we tried out that sticky tar stuff that didn't go so well. Do y'all remember that?
Chip seal.
Was it chip sealer? Okay.
Mhm.
So tell me about asphalt rejuvenation.
Well, I would probably need to bring Mr. Payne back in. for
Oh, did
that.
he leave? That's why I was asking it now, because he was here.
He's coming back in now.
He's coming back in now.
We can transport people back and forth in this world.
Yeah, it's some kind of
And-
liquid. Put on. Please tell me about this wonderful rejuvenation.
I will.
Young wrinkles.
I will actually defer to my counterpart, Mr. Blythe Bailey, who is in CDOT, but he happens to be at the other end of this table. So if council will bear with me one moment, I will turn this computer around and he will be happy to answer your questions. Be right
Okay,
with you.
thank-
Hello, members of the council.
Hey, Mr. Bailey.
Can you hear me? Mr. Payne and I were enjoying some socially distant time together in your conference room. And I told him that was my question when Councilwoman Hill was asking it. So thank you, Mr. Payne, for sharing with me your technology. The asphalt rejuvenation is a contract, Councilwoman Hill, that the council approved, I'm going to guess 2 or 3 months ago. It's not at all the sticky tar that you experienced in District 2 and elsewhere over, I believe that occurred 8 or 9 years ago. It's an entirely different process. The asphalt rejuvenation is a contract that is very inexpensive, that is designed to extend the life of relatively new pavement surfaces. This is the first year that we've done it, and we expect it's going to save the city a lot of money over time. It's very quick and easy. So far, at least, we've been very pleased with the contractor who has done it. It goes on very, very quickly. We do have to have access to the full street, which is why we've notified everybody, because in some cases, especially in North Chattanooga, there is some parking on street that needs to move so that we can spray on the application. The application goes on purple, I'm told, almost like Pepto-Bismol, and then it becomes transparent, so you can't see it anymore in a matter of minutes. And it prolongs the life of pavements that have been put down within the last 5 or so years. I think our contract right now has I'm going to say several dozen streets in it that have been paved in the last couple of years with our paving contract. And that's what it is. Thanks for asking.
So what is the material itself?
Oh, that's, I'd have to get my engineering team. I'm not familiar with the chemical makeup, but I'm happy to find out more information and share it with you.
Yeah, it'd be interesting just to understand what's allowing it.
Works, yes.
UV, is it a binder? What is it? So
Right.
thanks,
I'll get more information and happy to share it with you.
appreciate that.
All right, you good, Councilwoman? All right. All right, that concludes our Public Works and Transportation Committee this afternoon. I would at this time like to recognize a familiar face in a new position with us this afternoon. The new Chief of Staff, Mr. Brent Goldberg. Mr. Goldberg, come down and reintroduce yourself to the council. The mayor's got the 6 o'clock hour. You can have the 3:30 hour.
You just couldn't resist, could you?
Absolutely not. Good to have you back, sir.
Thank you. I look forward to working with all the council members and, coming up here every now and then, maybe to mess with you just a little bit.
Is that all you have to say?
I've learned a lot over the years.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Did I hear a question somewhere?
No. Welcome back, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do look forward to working with everyone. And sure, Mayor Kelly will talk more about that at 6 p.m.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. All right, council, that concludes our 3:30 agenda session. We will see everyone back at 6 o'clock.
Wait,
Oh. Councilwoman Coonrod.
thank you, Chair. Last week we had brought up, so I didn't get to bring it up on the legislative idea. Sorry about that. We had talked about, I brought up about the need to have the parks plan to be removed off the table and back on the agenda because we're out of compliance. And I would like to have that brought back up so we can discuss and vote. I mean, I do understand, we don't know quite the direction that our mayor is gonna go with our parks. I'm sure he'd be interested in outdoors and which parks are outdoors as well, but we're still out of compliance.
Tell you what, and I guess that would be under our old ECD, open spaces would be under that. I was trying to, I guess, figure out a place on the agenda to put that for next week. And maybe we could get the administration to give us a little overview and the plan. To be honest with you, I don't remember the plan myself, but I would like to see it again. Madam Clerk, would you make a note and we'll figure out a place to place that on the 3:30 agenda next week for the open spaces. Is that it, Councilwoman? Councilman Ledford.
Legislation that's sitting on the table. I'm sorry, I think it might be directed to Phil.
Yes, sir. Bring back from the table, I believe, is what you have.
Phil, what is the most appropriate time for us to designate that time to make that motion?
It would be during the public meeting, should be, and as understood, you're going to have it in committee here next week, and then during that committee meeting, you can move to have it set for a specific time. You want to have it on?
Even though it's still, I think we have heard it, and it's was motion to be placed on the table.
Yes, sir. And if you want to bring it back from the table.
On its course through committee, that's my question.
Well,
If it's on the table, it came to us for an action.
I think the problem is you having administration change between the time it came on and the new administration that would have to be implementing that. But if you want to do that at any point in time to bring it off the table in the public meeting.
I respectfully defer to her because she was the one who brought back to our attention. It is floating out there on the table.
Yes.
Okay.
Rather than just bringing it back, I would like to run it through committee for the new council members for their information and for this new administration.
Yes, sir.
So we'll run it through committee and then we'll determine at that time if
Okay.
we want to bring it
Yep.
back off the table.
Total agreement. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Anything else needs to come before this council at 3:30? Councilwoman Coonrod.
Now, Chair, you know, I gotta say it. You've been a stickler for us to go by the process of how we normally do. So what I'm hearing you say is that we're gonna go outside of that process and put something that's been on the table and normally we'll just place it back. If two council people agree to remove it off the table, it's placed back on the agenda to move forward or not. Now, what I'm hearing you saying, we're gonna place it in committee so we can discuss it. Now, that's going outside of our process. Like I totally understand that we have new council members. I get that. But I just want to make sure that we're making the changes outside of the process. So if something else comes up again, we do have that ability to do that. I just want to make sure that I'm
Well-
clear in the understanding.
Well, I'm not sure that we're going outside of our process. I guess here's what I would say. I would request of you that this be placed in a committee so that we can discuss it as a council, because I'll be honest with you, my memory is not very, I don't have a good recollection of what this plan actually looked like. So to bring it back off the table, I think I would like to have a refresher, see what it looks like, and then we can all determine if we would like to see it brought back off the table at that time. And that's all I'm asking. It is a request. If you want it put back on the agenda and let 3 brand new council people vote on it without having seen it, that's in your court. But I would just request that it be brought through committee before we put it back on the table.
Yeah, okay, that's perfectly fine. I just don't want to confuse our council members with
Sure.
that's the process, because normally that's not the process.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
I'm just
just wanna
simply
make sure.
requesting that it be brought through committee to refresh all of us, plus inform all of the new council members. All
Okay.
I'm trying to do.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
right, thank you.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Yeah, I think we can do both. You bring it back up off the table and then we look at it and as a whole and modify it as it needs to be.
Well, Mr. Attorney, it's my understanding that we would have to bring it off the table during a 6 o'clock meeting
Correct.
in public.
Yes. So the public has notice.
So, whether we bring it through committee and then bring it off the table, or bring it off the
You
table and bring it
both.
through the
Bring it
committee.
off the table and then refer it back for review and modification if appropriate. In
I'm just-
committee. That works.
I'm just trying to make it for ease, particularly of the new council members, that they understand what they are bringing back off the table before we do that.
You're right, Mr. Chair. And once we bring it back, then we can modify it. And the only way
Sure.
we can do that is then put it in committee and then you kind of have a win-win situation.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Anything else that needs to come before this council at 3:30? Seeing no hands, we will adjourn and we'll see everyone back at 6 o'clock. And you didn't.
Hey, Karen. Hey, Karen. Karen. I've got a new gavel here, so we've got a new gavel for the new chair on there. They normally make it. Yeah, it does not have the name yet because I don't know the person. Yeah. So, but we can give it. He's going to use his. Yeah, we normally just get the name.